Okay, so our rehearsal of our presentation starts. Hello everyone, I'm going to start off with a warning that there's going to be some vulgar language, so if anybody would like to leave the classroom, they can. Alright, so me and Nicola are co-worker and boss, or employee and boss, and we're going to start off with a demonstration of what you shouldn't do using vulgar language. You fucking piece of shit, what's wrong with you? Can you not do anything right? Those stupid fat ass bosses upstairs, they just want me to work with teams and it just never happens. What's wrong with you? You're stupid, aren't you? Fuck sakes. Ah! And that's the bad example.
Take it off.
That's a bad example. So now the good example of conflict in a workplace. Hi Nicola, I noticed that you had some problem with the task that you were doing the other day. What can I do to help you? Or is there any other assistance? Or what can we do to figure this out?
Well, we can, and then continue to tell, we can have a conversation about what we would talk about to make it better. So just get to know better.
So what do you guys think of that? How do you guys feel with the first and second option? And we'll give them a minute. Okay, and then now we're going to be talking about swearing and in the workplace and through school. I'm Tiffany, and this is my group Luque, and this is Nicola, Kevin, Michael, and Devondra. And we hope that we can open your eyes to when swearing is appropriate and when it's not appropriate. So now we all swear at times. Even my 7-year-old at times has put out a swear word or two. Wait, where am I? I'm lost.
What introduction?
Oh, now we all know you shouldn't swear at a customer or child, but what about coworkers and college students, teachers, or managers? Is that acceptable? What does everyone think? I like the conversation we're having, and everyone has made some good points. There are times when it is acceptable, but those times are very few. We need to become more aware of what we're saying before we say it. There's a case that I will talk about now from Portland, Oregon. So this here is... Here we go. This here, in Portland, Oregon, there was a case of a female, and she was a devout Christian and an employee of the city's Bureau of Parks and Recreation. She claimed a coworker regularly made profane comments that offended her. The comments included telling the employee, among other things, "I'm tired of your Christian attitude and your Christian shit all over your desk and your Christian shit all over the place. I'm going to file a complaint against you the next time I sneeze or you say bless you. You're just doing it for attention. You wear it on your sleeve like a badge and I'm sick of it. It offends me." Now that's not exactly the way that you're supposed to deal with things, but there is an outcome from what happened with this case.
Am I going the wrong way?
Yeah. So in November 2013, a jury found that the employee had been subjected to a hostile work environment based on her religious beliefs and that the city knew or should have known about harassment and should have taken action. The employee won damages of $14,080. The city was also required to pay attorney's fees. Now this is a good example to show of not just what happens in the workplace, but from the legal ramifications of what can happen when we use vulgar language so freely and without thought of the consequence of what we're saying. As I said earlier, my daughter has come out with a swear word before. We see this a lot in schools, but do we really know the effects of it? She knows the bad words, she hears them on a regular basis, people walking down the street, when I stub my toe, music, TV, it's all around her. I've made sure that she understands that those words are not something you say at school or out in public. It has the same effect, if not more, on children because they're like sponges. They absorb everything, so being at school, if there's negative language, it turns the whole environment negative. It makes it harder for children to learn and enjoy the school environment. Same with college students. We sometimes forget that we, as adults, can upset someone by just saying a curse word or two in the hall with friends. We have to remember that even if even as adults in college, our language is powerful. We all walk in here on the first day and don't know who we'll come into contact with. If it's the first thing we hear is cursing, we won't have a good impression of that person, and they could be the nicest person ever who would never want to upset anybody in any way. I found a list of controlling vulgar language in the workplace, and the list can work for all aspects of life. So, for the list, we start off with establish a zero tolerance profanity policy. So, just making it known from the beginning of what is expected, either at workplace or school. Next one is encourage the use of a swear jar. So you can do this at work, probably not at school. You can do it at home as well, and you can get the whole family involved. Number 3, hire a professional coach. So this person would come in and kind of just watch how the workplace is going and the environment, and then they would make recommendations as to how to change the behavior, and they would coach you through all of that. Reprimand other offenders swiftly. So don't make it last forever. Do it right then. If somebody comes out with a curse word, you let them know and talk about it then, not 6 months ever. And reward employees who do not use vulgar language. So this is, you can even make it fun by using a similar system to the work safety promotional X amount of days without an accident. Kind of a fun idea we could try. And then I'm going to pass it on to Kevin now.
So for my part, I'll talk about how vulgar language hinders communication. Okay. First thing it does, it brings about confusion. So when you use vulgar language, sometimes it has different meanings. So you're saying that one vulgar word, people can interpret it differently than what you're implying what it says, what you're trying to say. Okay, so you try to avoid swearing. When you're angry, try to avoid using swearing or throwing out a whole bunch of swearing words to say that you're angry, but because people won't know what you're really trying to say. Okay, next one. So it goes avoids obstacles or adds obstacles to communication. How it adds obstacles to communication is that it can offend people. It leaves grounds for potential conflict. And when you get in a conflict, generally you're not trying to communicate, you're just trying to say your point of view most of the time. Next one is, go back. Next one is stop active listening. So generally when people swear at you, you just stop listening to what they're saying. And then the last one is become defensive and no collaboration. So when you're being sworn at, generally you go into a state that puts you, you feel like you're being attacked when they're throwing profanities at you. So you become defensive and you end up not communicating with the person. That's the end of my part. And I'm going to pass it off to Devendra.
So, vulgar language can have an impact on your household depending on how you use it and who you use it with. So, children in some households may develop low self-esteem. For example, if they bring home their report card and it's not up to par, some parents they might insult their kid or tell them they're stupid or something. It'll lower their self-esteem because then they'll think that they're not good enough and that their parents don't appreciate their work. So negative statements have a stronger impact on a child's emotional development because there's research that shows that babies can recognize facial expressions as they grow, and through this, their emotional development, it'll become stronger in a way because then they're used to hearing all this strong language, but when they go out into like society, they won't really react as much if they heard swear words. And then the internet has allowed for profanity to appear everywhere and to appear uncensored, thus making these words lose their head-turning value. Because on social media, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere they're swearing, and it's really not filtered out to our kids and to like everybody. Everybody in society is open to swearing. Well, not open to it, but they're
Accepting.
yes, they're
Not always.
so,
It's accepted. Yeah, it's
yeah,
generally accepted.
everybody is generally accepted to swear in public, and in schools, there's swearing in a lot of schools. Like for example, in high school, I remember everybody would swear, no matter what the situation is, or just even if they said hello to somebody, they're throwing a swear word. So I'll pass it on to Miss.
You do that, like,
So hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking more so about not positive effects of swearing, but just that sometimes, there is a different aspect as well, because so far we've just discussed the negative aspects. So there's a time and a place. So swearing produces a pain lessening, and forgive me if I'm saying this word wrong, hypoalgesic effect for many people. And what that means is that it denotes a decreased sensitivity to painful stimuli. And what that means is that when you say something, let's say you stub your toe on a chair and it's very painful, if you say, oh, and then followed by a bad word, it just kind of relieves tension, pain. So to get a little bit more technical, there are categories of swearing I found when I did research. And when you swear on a day-to-day or you say swear words, you don't really think of it that way. And so apparently there's two categories. It's called propositional and non-propositional. And let me give you an example. So there's different groups, and that includes, and again, forgive me if I'm saying these wrong, dysphonetic, abusive, idiomatic, and emphatic. And so idiomatic swearing, an example of that is like, let's say you're saying that person is a pain in the back. That's a possible reason why someone would swear, and the reason for that being is that they want to gain attention or appear macho, they can express dominance or strength. But more so when Michael kind of continues the topic and he gets into like time and place, most of the time it's used for charismatic swearing, and that is not propositional, and that's just to relieve tension and increase your tolerance for pain. And these are kind of so what we mean when you swear. In a good way. And next topic. So when I was doing research, I found some interesting information about baby boomers versus millennials. So with baby boomers, traditionally in the workplace, swearing was seen as really inappropriate. But with millennials, the culture has shifted to be considered not as impolite, and it's actually more normalized. And I have an example here, but I can give you a real life example. So in my workplace, I work at a dealership, there's a lot of swearing, and I work with a lot of men. And a lot of the times when we're in meetings with my managers, they'll swear and it's normal, and then they'll say, sorry to me because I'm a girl, and it's just, kind of goes to show it's just for them, it's just normalized, and like you don't get in trouble in my workplace. But I do have a very informal workplace. Alright, so to get even more technical, since we are doing those modules in the class, just a really quick example about how, oops. They're just examples of the way, like let's say the word shit, if it was a noun, it would be used that way, verb, interjection, and when you don't want to say it is when you're offending someone, right? Sometimes you do say it this way, however, there are ways to say it instead of saying like, I know some people instead of actually saying the actual swear word, they would say fudge, that hurt. Apparently studies say that it doesn't give you the same release though, as I was talking about earlier. And I'm going to hand it over to Michael, who's going to talk about finding developments.
Good morning, class. Today I will speak about the appropriate use and finding a balance for using vulgar language. To begin, let's start with what makes these words offensive to hear. A professor of cognitive science at the University of California named Dr. Bergen believes that vulgar language is an affliction of its own creation. This means that profane language is only powerful because we choose to make these words powerful. From a young age, most of us are taught that vulgar language must not be used, even when experiencing pain. Because these words are made taboo, they can have an emotional, psychological, and social effect. While vulgar language can be useful, it is not appropriate during polite conversations. Swearing can be used in conversation to highlight a point, and it can also be used to make a point provocatively. As mentioned earlier, swearing can also help a person cope with stress or a painful experience. I personally believe that vulgar language can be acceptable in a non-professional, casual, and impolite situations. For the most part, vulgar language is harmless. The one exception is slurs. If profanity is used to target a specific demographic, this creates prejudice. The use of vulgar language can quickly change the tone of a conversation. General George S. Patton Jr. believed profanity should be used in the military. He mainly used his vulgar language in speeches to spice them up a bit. When he wanted his soldiers to remember something important, he would add some eloquent profanity. We have our conclusion.
Now it's time for a
Alright, so now, just to review and get a bit more opinions from everyone, we're going to do our Kahoot. And we have some questions prepared for the class.
Okay.
Should we read the questions too?
I don't, reading questions actually confused, just leave them alone, just let them read them. Unless someone wants to stand up here and read, because that's sometimes when you're reading them, it flips on and actually does more confusion than help. You know when that girl's trying to read it and we're trying to do it, it actually didn't help us out. She reads half the question and it's already over.
Alright, one player, let's go.
We got one
All
player.
right, let's
Come on,
go.
we need more room. Here we go, mister.
I mean, I don't mind reading the questions out.
Here we go.
Okay.
You didn't have it?
You got cut. Yeah.
So,
Okay. We're into it.
did you really want it?
My percentage was too low.
20 seconds too long, right? We could probably cut that.
Yeah.
No, because we have more people that are going to be playing.
Yeah.
72% seems bad. That's a
I
lot of
got-
people that
I got
swear, right? That's how much
split.
men swear.
Yeah.
Now get the woman.
I'm tied with Ty.
You're playing, Who else is
It was me, but then it froze.
playing? Women's a little bit low, 58%.
Almost a little.
Okay, this is one.
Wow. I'm gonna drop out of school.
Okay, the next one. Wait for the next. And you guys answered quick.
First.
I have. Oh, okay. I'm 900.
So.
Yeah.
That was in your